Call to order for the Watertown City Council meeting for October 17th, 2022. Please rise while Joe Vitek of Divine Providence, South Dakota leads us in prayer.
Thank you, Mayor. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we just give you thanks for this day. We thank you, Lord, for creating us in your image. We ask that you guide and direct and give wisdom, courage, and prudence to the mayor, to the council, to the city manager, and all the city employees who go about and gather here this evening to do your will and to serve mankind. And we thank you and ask all of these things in the name of your Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Finance Officer Bob Zine, please call the roll.
Okay, Bueller. Danforth.
Yes.
Pauline.
Here.
Paulson. Absent. Shetty.
Here.
Tupper.
Here.
Billhauer.
Here.
Thank you.
Quorum is established. With that, the chair will entertain a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda. Motion made by Councilman Shetty, seconded by Councilman Bueller. Any conversation on that? Hearing none. All those in favor of approving the consent agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Now is the time for public comments. If anyone is here and would like to address the council about something that is not on tonight's agenda, now is your time to do so. Seeing no one come forward, I'll close public comment section and entertain a motion to approve tonight's agenda. Motion made by Councilman Billhauer, seconded by Councilman Bueller. Any conversation on that? Hearing none. Motion is to approve the agenda. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. First item on the regular agenda is an application for a special event license to LATC, or Lake Area Technical College, for the Festival of Trees. Our Finance Officer, Bob Zine, will tell us more.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. This is a special event license. We've done this one in the past. Notice was given in the paper. Application is complete. Everything's in order. So if there's any questions, I can try to answer them.
All right. Chair will entertain them. I actually have to open a public hearing. Sorry about that. Is there anyone who would like to testify on this item? Yeah, would you like to just say a few words about, I mean, I assume everyone knows Festival of Trees, but you can't assume anything nowadays. So just tell us a little bit about the event and what it's for. And
So the Festival of Trees, this will be our 23rd year of hosting it. This will be our 5th year of it being on the Lake Area Tech campus, 4th year with the special license. We appreciate the support of the city and the mayor, city manager, and it's always a fun event, safe event. You have to be 21 to attend and participate at Festival of Trees. We do obtain special insurance, liability insurance for us in the district, and it is our largest fundraiser, so we appreciate your support.
thank you very much. I'll close the public hearing and open it up for council action. Do we have a motion to approve the application?
So moved.
Motion made by Councilman Tupper, seconded by Councilman Bueller. Any conversation on this, council? Hearing none, the motion is to approve the application. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Item B is an application for a transfer of ownership of a retail malt beverage and South Dakota farm wine license and video lottery license from Red Door LLC to Bonnie Glines. Finance Officer Bob Zine, please tell us what this is about.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. This one is a transfer of ownership to the same location. Why this one's in front of you is because it's got the video lottery, so the affidavit was in place. Notice was given, everything's in order, so if there's specific questions, I can try to answer them.
All right,
Thank you
very much. I'll open up a public hearing. Is there anyone who would like to testify on this item? I'll close the public hearing, open it up for council action. Do I have a motion to approve the application? Motion made by Councilman Paulson, seconded by Councilman Danforth. Any conversation on this, council? Hearing none, the motion is to approve the application. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Item C is a retail wine and cider license renewal for Dakota Butcher Watertown East. Finance Officer Bob Zine, tell us
Okay,
more.
thank you, Mayor. On this one, the reason the council is seeing this one, this is the renewal. It's renewal time for the liquor and the wine licenses. This one is before the council because there was a previous violation. The council did see this with the malt beverage, but we've kind of had the conversation go back and forth that because it is a different license, we still did request that the owners be present in case there were questions. But this was an underage sale. Violation happened June 15th of 22. So otherwise, this will just renew their license for the year 2023. So if there's any other questions, I can try to answer them.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I will open up a public hearing. Is there anyone who would like to testify on this item? You don't have to, but
Well, I just.
you're probably going to get asked a question anyway, so.
Well,
I say go
first
for it.
time here, so I might as well do something.
Yeah. Just announce yourself and who
Well,
you're
I'm
representing.
Aaron Grunwald with Dakota Butcher. Let's see. Let me pull up. I had something I wrote down. Got a little prepared. Well, what happened was we had a point of sale system, and anytime you purchase alcohol, it brought up a warning like, "Did you did you check an ID?" Well, that worked great for a long time while we switched our point of sale system. Well, you know how stuff is ordering now. With this new system, we had to order a deal that scans their ID. One, to check if it's a fake, and two, to let you know if you're 21. Well, that is, I don't know, somewhere on its way here, but we have not got it yet. So it's not an excuse, but it just, the person got busy and didn't do their job correctly and made a mistake. So, but that is on its way to all of our locations to make sure this hopefully never happens again.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else who would like to testify on this item? I'll close the public hearing, open it up for council action. Do I have a motion to renew the license?
So moved.
Motion made by Councilman Villauer, seconded by Councilman Tupper. Any conversation on this council? Hearing none, the motion is to approve or to renew the license. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Item D is a retail liquor license renewal for Brock Enterprises doing business as Duffy's. Finance Officer Bob Zine.
Thank you, Mayor. This one, look at that. Thank you, Mayor. This one is similar. This is also a renewal of a retail liquor for Duffy's. They were before the council for their malt beverage as well. Same violation, no new violations on this one. So if there's any other questions, I can try to answer them.
Thank you very much. I will open a public hearing. If there's anyone who would like to testify on this, now is the time to do so. I'll close the public hearing, open it up for council action. Do I have a motion to renew the license? Motion made by Councilman Paulson, seconded by Councilman Danforth. Any conversation on this, council? Councilman Villauer.
Thank you, Mayor. Just to clarify, we have this conversation every time this comes up, and I know our finance officer asked us that Friday morning at our agenda review meeting. Okay, our policy, when there is a violation, is it our policy or not to have the applicant appear before us explaining what they're going to do differently? So I guess I'd like to have that conversation so our finance officer knows what to tell an applicant when a situation like this arises.
Okay, thank you. So it has kind of toggled back and forth between showing up for one renewal versus showing up for the other one. Some of the last communication I had was because they are separate licenses and the violation is within a year of that license, so they are required to have a public hearing and to kind of reduce confusion and the fact that there could be a time that one council is different. We do renewals of malt beverage in June, councils change in July, and then you have a renewal for the liquor about this time. So my last understanding was that we would be requiring that if there's a violation, you show up each time for that license. Now, Duffy's has been here for the malt beverage and the liquor. If there's no other violations, they won't show up again. And same for Dakota Butcher. So that's how I've been handling it in the finance department.
Thank you much. Any follow-up? Councilman Danforth.
Glenn, thanks for bringing that up, because it seems to me like if we have a violation, if I've got 2 licenses, 3 licenses, whatever that is, I think it's wrong for us to ask them to come here every time, just because of the dates on how these renewals may occur. In my opinion, we have them come here. I think it's important that they come here. They come here on their first renewal. Any secondary renewal, in my opinion, should not require them to be here. They've already answered to the issue, so let's not make this any more problematic or well, what's the word I want to use? Maybe a headache more than it needs to be. So, in my opinion, and I would certainly think procedurally for this body to at least consider the fact that they come once, and as long as it's the same violation that we're going to be referring to, then we shouldn't have them come back a second or a third time, in my opinion. Just comments.
Thank you, Councilman Danforth. I would tend to agree with that as well. Councilman Tupper first, Councilman Shetty beat you to the punch. So, Councilman Shetty.
Thank you, Mayor. I see both sides of it. Being last year in 2021, I started on the council in July. If it's communicated like you did today, we communicated it was already previously talked about, discussed through the previous council. As long as, if there were a time period where there's a new council, I could see that with that kind of just bringing that information up, I could see myself just following suit with what was already agreed upon the previous council. So I could see the point of not having them come back up again. Being the first time, absolutely, but not necessarily the second time.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Tupper.
I would tend to agree with the statements from my colleagues. They, we do ask them to come up once. I remember at one time that wasn't even a requirement, but we did make that a requirement. And I would definitely think that once is enough, and agree with Councilman Shetty that even if we do have that change in council, I would think that the point's been made on the previous meeting that the individual had to show up for, that, there has been something done to correct the issues, so.
Thank you, Councilman. Finance Officer Bob Zine, how would this look logistically to basically not send them a letter, or would you just reword the letter to say you're technically up, but you don't have to show?
So, I'm kind of toggling between, I've kind of done it both ways, and so I'm just trying to do kind of what the council prefers. As far as the public hearing will always be required. As far as the council's take on whether or not the owner shows up, I can follow that guidance that I've been given, but no matter what, there will be a public hearing. Kind of for me, just a little bit of my take is, I guess as an owner of a license, if you're here, it's always a good thing to be here when the council does have questions. But I'll do whatever. It doesn't really change my process. I guess it just made it simple that if there's a violation within the year, the letter just states to show up. And then that way there's no confusion about, well, did they show up for the malt beverage and did the council change in between? And maybe the new council has more questions for the owner so I think it was just to simplify. If you have a violation, you're showing up for both licenses, but.
Thank you. City Manager Mack.
Thank you, Mayor. I was just going to comment that I think what I'm hearing from the council is one time is appropriate. So we need to work internally to just refine our process to reflect what you all are saying in that.
Thank you very much. Okay. Any further comments? Hearing none, the motion is to renew the license. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Item E is an approval of the special assessment roll for weed cutting. Finance Officer Bob Zine.
Thank you, Mayor.
Tell us how this is not medical marijuana.
This is not. This is something totally different. So within city ordinance, we have that if we have to go out and you've been given notice that we went out and took care of your lawn, we do invoice you for that. And then at the end of the season, essentially, if you have not paid that invoice, you are given a notice, a letter, and information about this public hearing before you. And after this, once the council approves this will actually be sent to the county and will end up on the property tax roll. So if there's any further questions, I can try to answer them.
Thank you very much. I will open a public hearing. Is there anyone who would like to testify on this item? I will close the public hearing, open it up for council action. Do we have a motion to approve the assessment?
So moved.
Motion made by Councilman Tupper, seconded by Councilman Shetty. Any conversation on this? Councilman Tupper.
I'll address City Manager Mack. Maybe then she has to send it another direction. How do we come up with the amount? I mean, is there a set amount set by the hour or?
The council passes a fee resolution annually, and that's how it's set. I think we typically look at like-sized communities and do some research on who's charging what. But you have an opportunity to review that annually and determine if those fees are appropriate or not.
Maybe this, Mayor?
Follow up.
Kristen, is any of these repeat times that we've gone out to any of these places?
Yeah, so like you can see, I think what we charge is around $100 when we go out to the property. So any of these that are over that, and then the 110 is they've gotten a finance charge essentially on that. So some of these that are equaling over, they've definitely been a multiple times that we've went out during the season to cut their lawn.
Follow up. Is there anything we can do to enforce it a little bit more? I mean, our people got better things to do than go out and mow somebody's lawn probably 6 times.
So I will say that I do think with our new code enforcement officer, a lot of progress is being made in that. Some of these I think are actually repeat property owners. So I don't really know if it's necessarily that they're new people that aren't taking care of their lawn, but I will have to say that I do know that the code enforcement officer has made contact with a lot of property owners, and they've went ahead and got it taken care of without the city having to do it. So.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Danforth.
Probably for either Amanda or Kristen, but do we contract that out and get somebody there, or do we physically do that with city staff and equipment?
Okay, the street department is actually the department that's responsible for this. So they normally take 2 employees and then 1 piece of equipment and go ahead and take care of these lawns.
So do we keep track of, obviously you've got repeat offenders, for lack of better terms, for this year, but do we keep track from year to year to know that, are this the same list that, or at least some of these that we would have had on last year?
We can always track it because, the assessment role stays within the finance records. So I don't think we've ever collectively put together, but I mean, I can, by looking just over the years, have been able to pick up that some of them are repeat.
Well, the reason why I say that is if I'm consciously not meeting my obligation and I'm just putting the burden back on you, meaning us, and we do that repeatedly, year after year, it just seems like at some point, and I think maybe Mr. Tupper was going that direction, at some point in time, we need to increase our charge. We don't want to be doing this. We've got better things to do with our people and our resources than to mow somebody's yard. I think we got to take a look at least to know if there are repeat offenders that maybe it's like anything else. Maybe the charge goes up higher the second time or the third time. Because if it's not painful, if it's acceptable, then we're their lawn care service.
Okay.
And I don't think that's appropriate for our resources.
And to that point, the resolution did just go up. I think it was 2 years ago. I think we were only around the 50, and now it is up to 100. But there's always that opportunity when the fee resolution comes before the council. If you would like to see something where it's a first violation, second violation, I mean, that's always easy for us to do and maintain that record. So.
Councilman Vilhauer.
Thanks, Mayor. Just a comment. I mean, we've had this conversation since I'm on the council multiple times, and I mean, I agree too. We got to make it hurt if we have a repeat offender. So next time this comes up again, remind us of this. That let's put a little more sting into it. If we have these same people violating it year after year, you're right. We don't want to be their lawn care service.
Councilman Paulson.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I think increasing kind of a sliding scale. The first offense is at $100 an hour, and then it goes up from there, is appropriate. But also, I mean, this goes on their tax roll for 10 years. So, I mean, it's never going to hurt them, really. I mean, it's being spread out over 10 years and you're paying $11 a year. No?
Finance officer?
Just a point of clarification with the weed assessments. So a special assessment is the 10 years at the 10%. The weed assessment will be due the following year for payment in full.
Okay.
Yep.
That's different then.
Yep.
So.
Councilman Tupper?
I think, especially now that we've got a good code enforcement system, is there any city ordinance, I mean, other than charging them an assessment to go do it, is there any way to go out and write them a ticket? Something that they have to pay up front? Is there?
There is.
Is it used very much, or?
Please.
Oh, come on,
Yeah.
brother.
Yeah, please.
So just to clarify a little bit, just the other day we talked about this in-house, and since Terry started doing code enforcement, he has had 0 lawns that he has had to pay the city to mow. So we've been making steps in the right direction as a city in that regard. Terry's done a fantastic job with that. So I think you're going to see a difference next year with that. He's contacted a lot of the same people that we dealt with year after year. There is a citation that that can be written in ordinance as well that Terry hasn't written yet because he uses that as a bargaining chip, right? Mow your yard, the ticket, we can make that go away. So we've done good things. So just maybe revisit this next year, and I think you'll see quite a difference.
I agree with you 100%. I know he's doing an excellent job, and yeah, I'm not saying just go out and write everybody a ticket, but if you think that's, a good bargaining tool and it's working, that's I'm happy.
And we are tracking it now. So Terry starts a call every time he deals with a property owner that hasn't mowed. I see him every day when I go into our CAD system. So Kristen doesn't need to track that. If you ever have a question of somebody, have we dealt with them for overgrowing grass or offensive matter or anything like that, we have that internally now and can provide that if needed.
Do you know what the offense is or what the fine would be if it gets to that?
I've written one in 20 years, so I couldn't tell you, Mr. Tupper.
And maybe that's something we need to look at. Well, first off, let's hope that it resolves itself with the new code enforcement officer, and if it doesn't, then we need to look at that fine schedule and see if we need to change that. So, thank you.
City Manager Mack?
I was just going to comment that it's not only worth looking at the fee schedule, it's probably worth looking at outsourcing that service, because we will always have people that we have to take care of, whether it's 10 properties or 2 or 25. And it's probably a better use of our time to contract and pass that fee off onto the property owner who doesn't mow their lawn or clean their snow or whatever, than to have 2 of our street division people and our equipment out there doing it. So that, if we're looking to make some immediate changes, that'd be the first thing I'd look at.
I would definitely agree with that. I was going to mention that I'm sure we can find some kids who would do it. And, sorry, City Attorney Carrico?
Thank you, Mayor. Right now, if you take the violation further into court, it's a max fine of $200 or 30 days in jail.
All right.
You better mow your lawn.
Is there any will on the council to go forward with let's say, an escalating fine on repeat offenders? Okay. All right. Thank you very much, council. Any other comments, questions? All right, the motion is to approve the assessment. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. We're on to old business. Any old business? Any new business? Any liaison member reports? Any announcements? City Manager Mack.
Thank you, Mayor. I have 2 announcements. First, a reminder that we will conduct our budget hearing on Monday, October 24th, this coming Monday, starting at 3 p.m. And then Councilman Vilhauer and I attended a Ukraine refugee meeting held at Lake Area Tech this afternoon. And just a key takeaway, the state of South Dakota is looking to work with the federal government and to assist Ukrainians who may be moving into the United States, fleeing war, and largely looking to help meet ongoing workforce needs. There are about 24,000 open positions in South Dakota right now and 500 people on unemployment. So clearly we have a need for workers. This may be a way to help transition people who are fleeing terrible circumstances. But the key takeaway is they are looking for individuals to serve as sponsors for those families or looking to support those sponsor families. So if you're interested in more information or becoming more involved, you can contact Mike Cartney directly, Joy Nelson, Hugh Bartles, or Sister Barb. They are all kind of spearheading these efforts for our area. So thank you, Mayor.
Councilman Paulson.
Thank you. I just want to say thanks to all the hunters that have been in the area. I got the pleasure to meet a group from Wisconsin last night. A big group, very excited to be in the area. They come here every year, and they said that the numbers look to be outstanding based on what they've seen previous and then this year. So for as much as it pains me to thank Wisconsin as a Vikings fan, Nebraska fan, and a Fighting Sioux alum, that group was great, and they're not the only ones, so it was a great weekend.
Thank you. Any other announcements? City Manager Mack?
I'm sorry. I know I announced this on Wednesday, but we were not broadcasting, but Dusty, our new Park and Rec Director, today was his first day. I think we've worn him out, but not to the point where he's running away screaming. So welcome, and we're glad to have him on board, and know he's going to do some really great things for our Park and Rec Department.
Thank you very much. Councilman? Chair would just like to acknowledge, speaking of hunting, the Convention and Visitors Bureau for doing Rooster Rush. Thank you for doing that in our community, welcoming hunters. Any other announcements? Hearing none, I'll close that. We have no reason to go into executive session tonight. So with that, the chair will entertain a motion to adjourn. Made by Councilman Tupper, seconded by Councilman Bueller. Any discussion on that? Hearing none, the motion is to adjourn. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries.